Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Who's out tonight? I mean, these are the institutions that are being corrupted by Bill Gates. Hello, Helen. We're being set up. We all got, I mean, you see my video. Good evening at dawn. You see my video on Saturday about, it's true what I said, that Stephen Lawrence case has been a curse to everyone, but it's not just a curse on people like us, it's a curse on black people as well, because we have lost double jeopardy through the Stephen Lawrence case, but we was all triggered by it all. We all love our history, we love everything about, I don't want Cecil Rhodes removed from Oxford. He's part of the infrastructure of that building. He is what it is. If he had stuff to do, he wasn't a very nice person for other reasons as well. But he is what it is. You can't change history. But I'll now believe that we are being set up. The BBC are doing a programme tonight. The rise of the right. I mean, could you make it up? I mean, we've seen that every institution in this country has been taken over by the left, by Marxists. This guy here, Sir Mark Sedwell, he's a Marxist. And he's got so much power, Good evening, Mr. S. Who's Mr. S? Do I know you, Mr. S? This is the real rise, the rise of the Marxists. I mean, they've took over all our institutions. And the BBC, we're being set up. I believe that Richard Inman, who can't make it because he's stuck over in Ireland, I suppose he could get on a little fishing boat and come over to Wales or something, but he's not, and I don't think Tommy Robinson doesn't want to be seen like he's frightened or anything like that, but the truth is, right, we're being set up. We've got to concentrate on Brexit. Now, for all Boris Johnson's faults lately, I believe that Boris is totally and utterly surrounded. And he's not like Trump. We can see he's not like Trump. And but this guy here, he launched the attack on Dominic Cummings, because Dominic Cummings, he had all the paperwork. So Mark Sedwell had all the paperwork to put a 2-year extension on Brexit. But it has to be put in before June the 30th. If they don't put an extension by June the 30th, then we leave the trade talks on December the 31st at 11 o'clock at night. Deal or no deal. And this is what this is about. This is a globalist attack. This George Floyd, the coronavirus was a psyop. It's all been a psyop, right? It was to, I mean, look. Let me explain it to you this way, right? I'm a limey. Do you know what a limey is? It's what Americans call us. It's not a racial discrimination thing or anything like that. It's a joke. I'm called a limey because I'm English. Why am I called a limey? No, limes, Jesus, limes, not lemons. I'm a limey because 50% of sailors used to die of scurvy. And it's been found and forgotten about in history. I'm a limey. Americans call us limeys because when the English sailors pulled into the Pacific down in California and places like that, they'd be eating limes because it protected them from scurvy because it had vitamin C in it. And it's become a bit of a joke over the years, like we call the French frogs, right? It's not a racist thing. We've got French blood in us from the Normans who were Norwegian, but they still had French blood in them. The Northmen or Normans, whatever you want to call them, in 1066. So we can't be racist against people we're pretty similar to. And Americans call us limeys. And it's a joke. It's a joke because, but it wasn't a joke at the time. Scurvy was a massive curse on people. And half of the ship would die of scurvy. And it's a terrible way to die. Yeah, but stick to the scripts, Jesus. It was a terrible way to die, but in the end it becomes a bit of a joke because all you need is vitamin C. And limes keep probably better. They stay fresher. Okay, Helen, you're from Newcastle. Limes stay fresher than lemons do, Jesus. So limes, so you can eat them and get that vitamin C that stops you from getting scurvy. But of course, Americans take the piss out of us over it, and that's fine, that's great. But I'm going to relate this to the coronavirus. Because we know that half of the ships could die of scurvy on the ship, right? And it was a terrible way to die. And also, so basically, the coronavirus is the same sort of thing. If you've got no zinc, you've got no vitamin D from natural sunlight, you've got no vitamin C, and you contract this virus, it will kill you. Unless you take what I've been telling you for ages, hydroxychloroquine, but they stopped us having it. They stopped us having hydroxychloroquine because retrospectively, after the event, you could still save your life. It opens a pathway up and it allows the zinc to get to your cells to protect your cells. So even if you were zinc deficient, we could still save your life. So it's a bit of a joke, really, the coronavirus. But we know that they give it to old people in residential homes because they've crashed their immune system. It's been done on purpose. 50% of all deaths in America have come from residential homes from the 4 blue states. The blue states are the Democratic Party states. They're communists, right? They are communists. They're everything but, all in name, but communists, right? They're communists in all but name. Okay, Carp. And basically, they've, my favourite bloke who I always dig out, what do I call him? Andrew Infanticide Coomer. He's a mass murderer. Well, I don't know how many he's killed in New York, but he's killed thousands and thousands and thousands of elderly people with crashed immune systems. He's got infected. They said we've got to take the people that's, even though the hospitals are empty and they had bloody ships in the harbour of New York and California, the Democrats are saying, no, we've got to send the infected people back to the residential homes. And people going, no. And of course, all the red states, all the Republican states refused to do it. But the blue states done it and killed the old people deliberately on purpose. It's mass murder, right? And we've done it in this country as well. Some of them were dying anyway. They was dying anyway, but they've all put Covid-19, but they've killed literally 50% of all the deaths in America and Britain are from the residential homes. It's murder, right? So what I'm saying is it isn't a joke, right? It's a sick joke. But you can build even elderly people's immune system up by giving them natural sunlight, giving them fresh fruit, right? Giving them zinc and then introducing them to all the young children, because we grew up in 3 generational families, and invigorated their immune system by introducing them to all the nasty little viruses that kids carry, because the old age pensioners have got them viruses well, because they got immunity for life when they were children. And by introducing them to children and spread the viruses amongst the old people, once they're strong, once you've built their immune system up with natural sunlight, which is vitamin D and vitamin C and zinc, then they're ready to take all the nasty little viruses that the kids have got. And of course, hidden amongst their immune system are those very virus antibodies that they got when they were children. And then they start replicating them all and invigorating their immune system, so that when something like the coronavirus comes, they can take it in and kill it and then get the antibodies for the coronavirus, and it wouldn't hurt them. Anyone can resist the coronavirus as long as they've got vitamin D, vitamin C and zinc, just like scurvy, and it becomes a joke, right? It's a joke, right? But that's a psyop that they've done. And what they knew this, right? And it was probably a secret password amongst Remainers, right? That have you took the vaccine? But what they really mean, have you got your vitamin D, vitamin C and zinc? Because they only want us to take vaccines. They don't want us to know the truth. So the point I'm trying to say is it caused what we call in the English-speaking world medical martial law. I'm going to get to that in a minute, Jesus, right? We're not talking about that. Medical martial law. And because it was this sick joke, right? And then they wouldn't let us have hydroxychloroquine because it would prove that no one needed to go to hospitals. Because even retrospectively, you can be zinc deficient and they can give you... Because you don't have to have loads and loads of hydroxychloroquine. You don't have to go on a course on it for days and days. You just probably need one tablet with zinc, with azithromycin, AZT, and that'd probably be it. But if that didn't do it, you'd probably have to take another one the next day, and probably about 3 probably at the most. According to Professor Dolores Cahill, you don't need a lot of it. And Judy Mikovits, Dr. Judy Mikovits said the same thing. So it's not like you need to take it for weeks and weeks, and then if you have got side effects of it, every drug has side effects anyway. But hydroxychloroquine, and you really don't need a lot of it. And it sorts it out, it kills it off, and next minute you can breathe properly, stop coughing, and you've killed it off. You've got the zinc in your body, and the zinc kills it. So it's a sick joke. But it was a tool to get medical martial law throughout the world. And they tricked us all, right? Because all the scientists were corrupted by this man. They were all corrupted by this man. Bill and Melinda Gates, and you can see it here how they corrupted all the scientists in Britain, right? So they got their medical martial law, right? But what it was then, they wanted to move to military martial law. So the killing of George Floyd to activate Black Lives Matter and Antifa, who are all linked to the Muslim Brotherhood, right? It's all, I've been finding out a lot of stuff. Basically, America sends money to Pakistan and Afghanistan in foreign aid, and it all comes back as weapons. And it's all stashed in Indianapolis somewhere. So basically, they caused all basically it caused Black Lives Matter to come out and Antifa, but Trump banned Antifa. So they've moved straight over to Black Lives Matter. That's why you see all these white people with Black Lives Matter winding all the blacks up, right? And taking advantage of them, right? Because it's not them, pretty much like the white working class people in this country, and probably like in America as well. We ain't very well educated. I mean, the white British working class kids do even less than the white West Indian working class kids in school. We're the two groups at the bottom of the class. The point I'm trying to make here is that Trump put 1 million soldiers in the streets of America after all the riots. So basically, it worked. George Floyd brought about military martial law. And what they're waiting for now, the left, is the first bullets to be fired. And once they fire the first bullets, they've got all their stashes of weapons in Indianapolis, I believe it is. It's all secret, but it's not that big a secret because I know about it. And they've also got drones with chemical weapons in them. Some people don't believe it, but I believe it. And because they're pushing it, they want a civil war. They know that they can't win the general election in November, so they want a civil war. So now I'm going to answer Jesus Jones's question, am I going on Saturday? No, I'm not fucking going on Saturday, and I predict it'll be banned. It won't be banned by the police. It won't be banned by the Boris Johnson. It'll be banned by us because the penny a drop we're being set up. It's a set-up. It's a set-up to cause civil unrest. It's to cause race riots, right? There's no way we're going to stand around a load of statues. We've seen that Cressida Dick is a Marxist that gets her coppers to take the knee to Black Lives Matter. Any Brexiter that's been down Westminster knows how the old bill treat demonstrations. But we also know that James O'Brien takes the piss out of Brexit, saying they all walk about with telephones in front of them filming it. The reason why we do that is because the old bill beat us up. If we're on our own and we can't prove, they don't know if we're live streaming, so they can't beat us up because they're Marxists. The police are being ruled by Marxists, and the Remainers never ever got nicked. They never got arrested. They were rent-a-mob, they were all being paid, where Brexiteers went down there for the love of it, and we got picked on. And it was terrible. You had that horrible Steve Bray down there, who was allowed to park his car there. You never seen anything like it. He had all this stuff in there. And poor old Brexit Matt, man, he had to, oh God, they tried to put a tent up there, and when it was cold, and they was made to take it down. We couldn't have anything. We were totally discriminated against, and you saw the way the police treated Black Lives Matter, and they basically emboldened Black Lives Matter. It was all a game, and the media were pushing it because the media are Marxists. And basically they're trying to create a coup. But what we've done, we've flushed them all out. We know now. We knew that these chief constables were a bit dodgy, hiding, all putting the rainbow up and things like that. And this is basically what it's all about. It's basically, we've now seen that the chief constable, is it Poogsley, Alan Poogsley or something, he took the knee. And it's funny that this guy who takes the knee as the chief constable of Kent, right, that this guy, Sir Mark Sedwell, is in charge of Border Force. And he brings all the immigrants. He meets the French Navy, right? Boris can't do fuck all about it at the moment. Boris has got to concentrate on Brexit. That's why he looks pathetic. He looks weak. And that's why they're trying to create a divide. That's why you saw Piers Corbyn. The first thing that Piers Corbyn done when he put that fucking mic to his mouth down at Hyde Park Corner was attack Dominic Cummings. Because Dominic Cummings stopped Sir Mark Sedwell while Boris was ill in hospital. He already had the paperwork written out to put a 2-year extension on negotiations, which have to be done before the 30th of June. So what this is all about on Saturday is to create race riots throughout the whole of Britain. If we turn up on Saturday, there will be race riots. The South London drug gangs have already said they're coming together and they're all getting their machetes and they're going to come down. The old Bill won't search them. And even if it's veterans or whatever, we won't have guns. How can you fight a man with veterans? I'm not saying I'm frightened. It's not because I'm frightened. We could take machetes if we wanted to, but we're not that way inclined. But that's not the point. It's not about creating a race war. We don't need a race war. We're winning. We're winning. We're getting Brexit. It's to try and stop Brexit and cause this government. It could cause the government to collapse. And basically, if you have a race war, it's another reason for these people to start saying you need to put an extension on. Because we've got medical martial law because of the coronavirus, which is a fake, it's a joke. Because all you need is vitamin D, vitamin C and zinc and hydroxychloroquine. And I'm going to come to hydroxychloroquine in a minute. Yes, they're after a race war. That's all it is. Well, you can go and stand with Churchill. Because if someone said to you 5 years ago, right? 5 years ago, before 2016, in 2015, I'll give you Brexit and you'll get a couple of statues smashed up. What would you take? You'd take Brexit and get a couple of statues smashed up. Right? And then, let's get to some perspective here. It's an inanimate object. It's not very nice. We all love our statues, right? But don't fucking fall into the trap. Tommy will realise, Tommy's probably already realised now, and I've heard someone, Brexit Matman just told me just now on the phone, that he actually never called it. And Richard Inman's been making videos, and he's basically made a video today that he can't make it because he's stuck in Northern Ireland, and he's asking the police, basically, can you guarantee you can put a ring fence around all the statues, right? Because he wants to call it off and all. We're all realising that we was emotionally charged over the weekend. We were triggered. I was triggered. You saw my last video. Listen, I ain't going to pull down a Nelson Mandela statue or smash up the Stephen Lawrence plaque, even though Stephen Lawrence has become a curse to black and white people in this country, because we can all be charged for murder once, twice, thrice, 10 times until they get the verdict they want now. That's why it's important that we've got what Brexit Matman done, and I've worked with him from the beginning, right? This is really important. This might not be exactly, Brexit Matman sort of changed it now, but this is really important because on this, right, the sovereign citizens, number 4, restoration of double jeopardy. Restoration of double jeopardy, that's number 4. So that you can't be, because it's really important freedom, because you're not a free person if the police can keep putting their hand on your shoulder and go, hello, hello, hello. You might have got a not guilty by 12 good men and women true, but we want to try you again. So, this is our Sovereign Citizens Act. This is why we want it, because we want real freedom. He is dead, but the fact of the matter is, right, it's a curse on us that Tony Blair politicised the CPS, and it was all about his polls, because obviously people were screaming that these guys have probably killed him. They thought they had the evidence, or they didn't care whether he had the evidence. Well, nowadays it wouldn't matter if he had the evidence, because we know all the judges are crooked, and they'd still get a guilty verdict. But then they obviously didn't have control of the judges, and these guys got a not guilty. But that's it, it's done. They shouldn't have fucking used politics, shouldn't have politicised the CPS. They should have just, if you've got the evidence, you charge them. If you ain't got the evidence, you can't charge them, because you can't risk them getting a not guilty. You've got to wait until you've got the evidence. And so what they've done, they feel they've got the evidence later on, but to me, it's too late. You can't do that with double jeopardy. You shouldn't be charging people unless you've got the evidence. So, look, let's just move away from that. So I'm not here to pull any statues down of Nelson Mandela or destroy any plaques of Stephen Lawrence, because Stephen Lawrence died. It's not his fault, but nevertheless, the politicians, and let's face it, Tony Blair's from the Labour Party, and they don't give a fucking shit about our freedoms. They want to take out. We've seen what they've done. They've exposed themselves. By stealth, they took over all our institutions. Everything they took over. We're like a cancer patient that's been eaten away from the inside. We're hollow. They've took our judiciary. They've took our civil service, right, with Sir Mark Sidwell. Never before has a civil servant been so powerful as this man. So look at the stuff he's in control of. Treasonous May put him in this position. He's been a curse to Boris Johnson. He makes Boris Johnson look pathetic. And but what Brexit Madman keeps saying to me, remember, on July the 1st, Boris will be that little bit stronger, because we then know that we're leaving on the 31st of December at 11 o'clock at night. So on January the 1st, Boris probably will then, he might even be able to do it after July the 1st, right? He might be able to start sacking some of these bloody civil servants and replacing some of these coppers like Cressida Dick, who's, if she was based on meritocracy, she would have never been the leading copper. She takes her orders from Mark Sedwell or Sadiq Khan, or a bit of both, or one or the other, we don't know, right? But you can see him there, he's sitting above the Foreign Office there. I think that's where Priti Patel is. And these people are all Marxists. Priti Patel isn't a Marxist, so, you know, she's taking her bit, and we saw, yes, kangaroo courts, we saw the way the police were playing Black Lives Matter. They were emboldening them, pretending, you know, they were kneeling to them, and when it all went off, they were pretending they were frightened and all that. And all the black people saw this, thought, oh my God, we can take control. And they were tricked, because like working class white boys, they're bottom of the class education-wise. They've really, you know, we're not doing very well. The West Indian lads at school and the English lads at school, we're bottom, mate. My kids, I've had to take my kids out of school. I'm not sending my kids back to them institutions anymore. I'm gonna home tuition them. Now, so that's the answer, right? And I believe that Tommy Robinson will see the light, and he'll pull out of it as well, because it's a trap. Because the BBC are even doing something tonight, the rise of the right, which is because they know they've got this riot coming on. That you can't win. You can't win if you go down there. The police, look, the police are really pissed off about what's going on in the ordinary coppers. But in the Metropolitan Police, a lot of them ordinary coppers are also part of the Marxists as well, but not all of them. But it's more, I believe, more than any other police force in this country. I don't know, maybe Bristol. I mean, Paul Rimmer says that, and Mike Lane say that Liverpool's the most left-wing city in the country. I would say that Liverpool's the most left-wing working class city in the country, but Bristol is also the most left-wing middle-class city in the country. We see the way they pulled that statue down the other day. And now we've got it in Oxford going on as well, over Cecil Rhodes. So, you know, I was looking at them and they're fucking hell, mate. These middle classes, they're not the full shilling. They've all been taken over. Now, I want to talk about hydroxychloroquine, because it looks like we're winning the battle on it, or we won the battle. And I got a letter from my doctors saying that they will never, because I had a bit of a barney with them, and they wasn't going to give it to me, because, and they said they can't. But you know what? The doctors swore an hypocritical oath that they would do no harm, and they should give it to us. Yeah, now it's brilliant. Well, yeah, but we're fighting back, Jesus Jones. They're not going to enslave us. So, right, authors pulled a study flagging hydroxychloroquine risks. So now they're admitting It was all a fake test. Hydroxychloroquine is what we said it was. Right? Look, all drugs, even aspirin's a dangerous drug to some people. Right? And it's one of the safest drugs in the world, aspirin. But, you know, I'm not talking about, you don't have to take this massive course of hydroxychloroquine. Right? If you catch it early, maybe one tablet's all you need, because once you've got that zinc in there, it sorts the virus out, stops it replicating in your cells, and that's what your zinc does. But if you've got zinc, but it's easy to sweat your zinc out, like if you're an athlete. When I'm loading up my truck, if I sweat a little bit, I could be sweating the zinc out of me, so I could leave myself a little bit vulnerable. But, so, yeah, hydroxychloroquine means that we never had to close the hospitals. That's why it's a joke. The medical martial law that we're all in is a joke. Because it's like scurvy, calling me a limey. We know it killed millions of people, scurvy. Some ships, more than half their crew would die on long journeys. So it ain't a joke really, but it became a joke because all you needed was vitamin C. And that's why we're called limeys. And it's the same with the coronavirus. All you need is natural sunlight, or nowadays we can give you vitamin D3, which is an artificial substitute to natural sunlight, and eat some fresh fruit, which is your vitamin C. Vitamin D is your immune system. Vitamin C enhances your immune system. And make sure you've got your zinc in the background to protect your cells, and it becomes a joke. You know, even for the elderly, even for the people with underlying health issues, because it won't go beyond your cells. It has to go into your cells, and it has to replicate in your cells, and it bursts out, destroying the cell walls, and and all your cell walls that start bursting out with coronavirus. And at that point, it attacks places like your lungs and any underlying health issues you've got in your body. But it don't get to that stage if the zinc's there in the cells to kill it. All right? So it is a joke. But then they use George Floyd to get us from medical martial law to military martial law. And America's pretty much at military martial law, and it's very dangerous. I'd say to everyone, go and watch George Webb. From the moment Trump banned Antifa, so you go back and look at his videos and you see him, he's talking about Antifa in all these videos. He's an investigative journalist. He's about the same age as me, and he's really clever. And basically explains to you, he calls it PAC 1 or something, PAC 1, where basically America sends foreign aid to countries like Pakistan and Afghanistan, and it all secretly comes back with the Muslim Brotherhood in weapons. So basically American taxpayers are funding their own demise, and it's all coming back, and it's all stashed, this weapons stashed, and it's, guess who's been doing it all? The DNC, the Democratic National Congress. It's the Democratic Party, and it's Strzok and Brennan, all these people. Oh God, right, and yeah, George Webb was out in Minneapolis. El Shabab were out there. I think there was a turf war between Muslim Brotherhood and El Shabab, and they got burnt out. It's all really weird stuff that's going on, and they can put chemicals, and we know that Portland Down were, according to George Webb, were responsible for the gas attacks in Syria. It wasn't the Russians, it wasn't Assad, it was us. And I also believe that when them Russians went to Salisbury, which was only up the road from Portland Down done that chemical thing, whatever they done. It wasn't the Russians, it's always been us. And Portland Down, if America's got it with Antifa and Black Lives Matter and all sorts of jihadi groups, because we know the left have allied themselves with the jihadis, and and the globalists, and I should imagine Portland Down has been taken over by globalists, just like all the other institutions, like the courts and everything. And we may have hidden drones, but we don't know in this country. It's usually whatever happens here happens in America. So we have to presume the worst, that Antifa want to create a civil war scenario where we get military martial law by creating the race riots on Saturday when we don't need it. We're literally, what is it today, the 9th? We're 21 days away from never ever extending us trading with the EU. This is the deal that Boris done with Nigel. He's kept to it. And if you go on Jeff Taylor, he'll tell you how the fucking EU are going crazy. He's going to rewrite the Agreement Act or something. He's driving a mad, Boris. He's keeping to the rules. So we're all slagging Boris down. But Boris has got blinkers on. He's not interested in anything else. He can't control it. We've been taken over. We are in a coup d'etat. This guy, he's took over the country. Right? Boris can't be dealing with it at the moment. He's got to concentrate on Brexit. He mustn't be diverted. And we mustn't be diverted. We mustn't listen to Piers Corbyn. Because as soon as Piers Corbyn opened his mouth on that megaphone down in Hyde Park the other week, it was attacking Dominic Cummings over vaccines. What's a lot of bollocks? What's a lot of bollocks? Because these are the people you should be attacking. Look, Patrick Vallance, right? Look how close he is to the Majesty's government. Patrick Vallance, Scientific Advisory Group for Emergencies, right? That's Sir Patrick Vallance right there, right? And he's funded, that Scientific Emergency Group is funded by Bill Gates. So all the advice he's given the government is lies. Because whenever have you seen Chief Scientific Advisor talk about vitamin D, vitamin C and zinc? Never. And we all know that Sir Patrick Vallance worked for GlaxoSmithKline. And GlaxoSmithKline, the biggest vaccine producers in the world, and there's Sir Patrick Vallance here, I've got him here, and here's the arrow pointing all the way down here to GlaxoSmithKline, and here's Sir Patrick Vallance here as well. I've got, if you can read it all, he's got a job waiting at the World Health Organisation, which is also funded. It's now the biggest funder of the World Health Organisation. Now Trump's pulled out of it, is Bill and Melinda Gates. These people don't talk about the real cures, so they've corrupted science. So it's just all the institutions. So I would imagine the Portland Down is also corrupted, and we may have hidden drones in our country with biological cat taste the lefty. Right, okay. So I believe that if we went down to Westminster and you have race riots between the Tommy Robertson crowd and all the South London drug dealing gangsters all joining up with their machetes and come down and start chopping people, right? And if we went down there, I'm sure our boys would have to have something to look after themselves with, and it'll end up, and it's spread all over the whole country. The whole country would go down in race riots. Well, we certainly don't want that at the moment because we are winning. We are winning. So we don't need to do it. They need to do it like they're trying to do it in America. And who knows what these people have got stashed away, because we haven't got the Second Amendment in this country. That's why it's not just about double jeopardy, number 4, right? We've also, number 2, we want the right to bear arms. So, I've done this like the 10 Commandments, yeah? I think Brexit has changed it around a little bit now. This is really important, but we do this, we start pushing this after January because we concentrate on Brexit. So look, let's just finish these wankers off once and for all, that we was right all along about hydroxychloroquine, right? I'm going to read this article for you. The Lancet study claimed to have retrospectively analysed some 96,000 patients' records, finding that hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine, well, chloroquine is a bit dodgy, it's 40% more toxic than hydroxychloroquine. Common anti-malarials were ineffective against Covid-19 and even increased the risk of death, right? So, the Lancet on Thursday, and this is June the 4th, right? I've printed this out and I haven't. The Lancet on Thursday retracted a study that raised safety fears over the use of a drug favoured by President Donald Trump to treat Covid-19, after the paper's authors said they could no longer vouch for its underlying data. So they backed out, they realised it was all a lie. and because it's all going to come out eventually, and it would ruin the Lancet's reputation. Right, it was soon followed by the withdrawal of another coronavirus paper in the New England Journal of Medicine, NEJM, that was not linked to hydroxychloroquine but relied upon the same healthcare company's patient database. The unfolding research scandal threatens to undermine confidence in two of the world's top medical journals in the midst of a pandemic, because Marxists say 2 + 2 = 5. Basically, what that means is they corrupt everything. They corrupt the institutions, and they are corrupting the institution of medicine. It's all lies. They don't care, because all they care about is their utopia. Isn't that right, Jesus? Their agenda. And everything is collateral damage. If it kills old people, they want to kill old people anyway, because they always spend the money for the pensions. They can't afford to pay them. So whatever they have to do to get to their utopia is collateral damage. And people are just animals with communists. The unfolding research scandal threatens to undermine confidence in two of the world's top medical journals in the midst of a pandemic. But it is the retraction of the Lancet study that may supercharge what has become a highly politicised, yes, it is a politicised, debate about hydroxychloroquine, an old malaria and rheumatoid arthritis drug now backed by many US conservatives against the SARS-CoV-2 virus. In their paper published on the 22nd of May, the authors claim to have retrospectively analysed some 96,000 patients' records, finding that hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine, even chloroquine they're now saying is pretty safe, a related compound, were ineffective against Covid-19 and even increased the risk of death. Heart arrhythmia, ARRHITHMIA, was flagged as a particular concern. Do you remember? James Slack, the official spokesperson for Boris Johnson, he's still in the job as far as I know, turns around and says President Trump is self-medicating a dangerous drug that gives heart arrhythmia. I just said start heart attacks or heart failure. And it was a lie, because Donald Trump that night before, I saw him say in the news conference, yeah, I'm taking hydroxychloroquine. When they started asking him questions, it went in a feeding frenzy with the press. He said, yeah, I'm doing it with the consent of the White House doctor, who turns out his name is Sean Patrick Conley, the White House physician. And that disgusting scumbag, James, I forgot his name now. Someone remind me, I just said his name. Anyway, I said his name just now. It'll come to me again in a minute. Said that the president was self-medicating a dangerous drug that gives heart failure. James Slack, that's his name. And he hasn't been sacked. And I found out, when I've done my research, that he was appointed by Treasonous May as the official spokesperson. And Boris he's a decent guy, Boris. All this rubbish you hear about Trump and Boris, he let him keep his job. He gave him a chance. Like he gave Amber Rudd a chance to go back in the cabinet, and she fucking stabbed him in the back. But, Boris is not in a strong position at the moment, even though he's got 80 majority, because fucking half these fucking MPs are all fucking Remainers. So, we just can't rock the boat too much at the moment. So, this finding led the World Health Organization, the most corrupt organisation in the world, to temporarily suspend clinical trials into the medicines, though the papers soon triggered widespread concern among scientists over a lack of information about the countries and hospitals that contributed data. Mandeep Mehra, a professor at Harvard University, who led the work along with Frank Rutschkitska of the University Hospital Zurich and Amit Patel of the University of Utah, said in a statement Thursday they had tried to launch a third-party peer review, but Sugisphere, a little-known healthcare analytic firm based in Chicago that provided, I don't know what Alif's done there, she hasn't printed this out very well. It's just a couple of lines though, so I might have just got to jump through that. Due to this unfortunate development, the authors requested the paper be retracted. The three said, so then three doctors, we deeply apologise to you, the editors and the journal readership, for any embarrassment or inconvenience. These people are heroes because they've stood up. Mandeep Mehra, a professor of Harvard University, Frank Ratchkitska and Amit Patel. I believe these are the three doctors. They've come out and basically said, we deeply apologise to the editors and the journal readership for any embarrassment or inconvenience that this may have caused. The Lancet, a British journal, offered its own statement saying there are many outstanding questions about the surgisphere and the data that were allegedly included in this study. Vascular surgeon Sapan Desai, Surgisphere's chief executive and the paper's other author, did not join the retraction and declined to comment to AFP. Prostitutes of Bill Gates, that's why he declined to comment. Despite the finding apparently vindicating hydroxychloroquine safety, yes, it's up there. I've got it up there, look, you can see it all. I've never changed my position. Despite the finding apparently vindicating hydroxychloroquine safety, there is not yet any proof from a randomised clinical trial, RCT, that the medicine is effective against Covid-19. So they're going to say that, but it's rubbish. It's not the medicine, it's not the corona, it's not the hydroxychloroquine. The hydroxychloroquine isn't the medicine. Some of the tests actually used hydroxychloroquine without zinc, as if it was the hydroxychloroquine was the medicine. It isn't. That opens the pathway to let the zinc is the medicine. One such trial that was published Wednesday found the drug was not significantly better than a placebo in preventing disease among people who had been recently exposed to the virus. But scientists broadly agree that more RCTs, randomised clinical trial, considered the gold standard for clinical investigation, are needed, and hydroxychloroquine should not be discounted yet. Research scandal. The paper in the NEJM meanwhile investigated whether people who take commonly used blood pressure medicines became more or less likely to get Covid-19. It was released on the same day as two other studies investigating the same topic, with all three finding that these medicines do not heighten susceptibility to infection, nor increase the risk of becoming seriously ill. No questions have been raised about the integrity of the other two papers. In their retraction statement, the NEJM paper's authors also wrote that the data was not made available to a third-party auditor. Sci-fi author and adult model. Researchers began to closely scrutinise the Lancet paper shortly after its publication, highlighting numerous red flags, ranging from the huge number of patients to the unusually complete information on the demographics. What it means is, right, once you've got vitamin D, vitamin C and zinc, and then if for some reason, because you can get, I mean, seriously, you could give the whole world zinc and the whole world vitamin D in the winter, vitamin D3, and everybody knows to eat fruit, and we could have protected the whole world without locking down or nothing. And they'd say, oh yeah, but there'd still be some people that might be zinc free, like, people. Yeah, but you can, now we know with hydroxychloroquine, you can give it to retrospectively after the event, and no one would need to go to the hospital. And it's not airborne. It's just like a flu virus, right? People have to start putting brass door handles again. Or if it's a push door, brass door plates, because then it can't be spread on door handles, because brass, which is made of copper, kills any virus. That's why money in the olden days couldn't spread the virus, because copper coins would have killed the virus. And also, brass has zinc in it as well, so the copper and zinc will kill any virus. So old-fashioned door handles, they used to have them on all government buildings. But guess what the globalists done? They said, oh, we can't afford to put brass door handles anymore, and they went to, I don't know, aluminium or something like that. And what they've done, they wanted people to start taking vaccines because they're making vaccines. So by making all government buildings not having brass door handles, it made it easier to spread viruses, flu viruses. So therefore, they wanted to push the agenda because the government's making a fortune out of it. Hospitals are making money out of it. Doctors, surgeons are making money out of it. Schools are now pushing vaccines. Bloody Sainsbury's, you'll be able to have a vaccine if you can already. And they're all getting a cut of the cake when they give you a vaccine. So they wanted us to spread flu viruses in the end, to give us vaccines which compromise our immune system in the long run. The globalists are out to kill us. They're Marxists. They're poisoning us. Cancer rates have gone up over the decades, whereas 50% of us get cancer now because they're poisoning us, because they want us dead. They want us replaced. And we can see it now. They're fucking stark raving mad. These people are fucking lunatics, and we're dragging them out. They all stand, all them coppers that bent the knee. That copper down at Bristol, where he said, yeah, well, we saw him pulling this statue down in Bristol, and we wouldn't look really good for us as a police force stopping the people from ripping that statue down. So we decided to take a step back because the police didn't want to be seen, because it's political correctness. Political correctness is madness. It's not right for the police to be seen stopping people pull down a statue of a man that believed in slavery. It's not good for our image, but police are not there for an image. They're there to uphold the law. And then they watch them roll it, 500 yards down the road and tip it in the bloody river. And of course, as this copper's telling us all this, outside the Avon and Somerset police station that covers Bristol, he's standing there in front of a badge of a rainbow, which tells me everything about him. Because that badge is an evil sign that represents the breakup of the family, a depopulation programme. So he's given away that, and he's the chief constable of that police station and of that police force. And James Slack, CBE. James Slack, you got it, Jesus. I did remember him in the end. And just like Pugsley, is it Alan Pugsley or something, the chief constable, Kent, great big geezer. He took the knee to Black Lives Matter. But crucially, he's the chief constable of Kent, where Sir Mark Sedwell, who controls Border Force and meets the French Navy halfway across the English Channel that Nigel Farage exposed, brings them into Dover, Kent. And then they get taken out, whether it's Mark Sedwell's immigration people who do it, or Pugsley's Dover police that do it, and spread them around the country. They're all fucking corrupt, a lot of them. And we know that Cressida Dick was playing games down at Whitehall with Black Lives Matter, pretending to take the knee. Well, it wasn't pretending, they meant it. But making ordinary coppers do it that might not believe in it. It's wrong. And because no man should bend a knee to anyone unless they're bending it to their religion. And then they were you could see the tactics, because we know as Brexiteers that they weren't proper tactics they were using. And they were pretending they were like feigning retreats and all that, but not to re-attack them, but just to make them look weak and embolden Black Lives Matter to get more black people, because it was the white middle class that are manipulating the black guys to attack the police. Because you see, whenever the fighting started, the white guys just melted away. They're only middle class idiots, they can't fight, and they let the black guys do all the fighting with the police. It's a set-up. The black guys have been set up like they're trying to set us up to have blacks and whites fighting each other. Because we're all working class, we're tough. The blacks are tough and we're tough because we're all working class. And it'd be fucking terrible if we all started fighting each other. We'd rip each other to pieces. You can guarantee the middle classes keep right out of it because they can't have a fight. Internet sleuthing by The Guardian revealed that Sugisphere had a scant online presence with only a handful of staff listed on LinkedIn, including a science fiction author and an adult model. The firm was involved in yet another attention-grabbing study that found that the anti-parasite drug ivermectin could be useful against Covid-19. How much money they earning out of this drug? Because you don't make no money out of hydroxychloroquine. That's why they don't want it used. The patent has run out on it. Though this paper had not been peer-reviewed or appeared in a journal, it caused a run on the drug in Latin America where it is widely available. While desire and surgisphere have been the focus of most scrutiny, the lead author of all these papers was Mehra, M-E-H-R-A, who is also the medical director at Brigham and Women's Hospital, Heart Vascular Centre in Boston. I would presume that's Boston, America, rather than Boston in England, I don't know. The lead author is considered responsible for performing due diligence on data and vouching for its integrity. I don't know, it might be Boston, England. Chris Chambers, a professor of psychology at Cardiff University, added the affair raises serious questions about the standard of editing at the Lancet and NEJM. What is the NEJM again? Ostensibly two of the world's most prestigious medical journals. So there you go. It looks like hydroxychloroquine is back in the good books again. And it proves that it was always a joke. Vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc and hydroxychloroquine, which can get zinc into you retrospectively. So there was never any need to close the hospitals. So the NHS has been a political, and all the NHS workers are complicit. We have to get rid of it. It's a joke. It's a joke. The NHS is a sick joke. We're paying our taxes. They don't care. They're just using us, right? And now they want to move from medical martial law to military martial law by getting us lot to go down there and having race riots with the blacks on Saturday. Working class black against working class white. Cutting each other up to pieces with machetes. That's what they want. They don't give a fuck about the blacks or the whites. They hate the working classes, whether you're black or white, them middle class scumbags. Well, I'd do if I was them blacks. I'd go with them and I'd fucking... you'll see the blacks, they'll turn on them. They'll chop them up and see how they fucking like it. Because you know what happened out in Iran, didn't you? The Ayatollahs and all that, the left joined up with the Ayatollahs to overturn the Shah. And when they overturned the Shah and they come in power, do you know what they done to the left, didn't you? They cut all their heads off. And they marched around terrain with all their heads on spikes. That's how you fucking treat the left. Fucking scum, a lot of them. They will distort science, they will distort everything. And they're distorting science on hydroxychloroquine. We know that Andrew Infanticide Cuomo and the 3 other states, blue states in America, allowed infectious patients in their residential homes. They killed them. They killed the old people, and they've done it in this country as well. 50% of all deaths are old people from residential homes. I'm not saying they all died because they faked the death certificates as well. I've got the video up of Sir Patrick Vallance. Let's get him here where he is again. The corrupt Sir Patrick Vallance, there he is. Works at the Scientific Advisory Group for Emergencies, right? He works at the Scientific Advisory Group for Emergencies, funded by Bill and Melinda Gates, and he's the Chief Scientific Advisor to Her Majesty's government, right? He'd come out and done a video, it's only 15 seconds long, saying, well, yeah, it's true. See, they lie in plain view in your face, and they still tell us that a lot of the Covid-19 deaths with Covid-19 written on the death certificates doesn't mean to say they died of Covid-19. You couldn't make it up, and yet we're all accepting it. We need to wake up about these people. We need to wake up. McDonald's Farmer, you are late, mate, because I'm probably finishing up now. I ain't got much else to do. And these are some of the other things you can take, because this is a joke, right? I'm a limey. Yeah. Listen, Tommy's not stupid, right? I done a video, right? And I'm not going to take the video down because it's partially true. And I did say that Stephen Lawrence has been a curse to black people and to white people, and perhaps we should take their statues down of Nelson Mandela, who was also a terrorist, right? But I ain't taking no one's statues or harming anyone's plaque. But Stephen Lawrence is a curse to us all. It's not him personally, he died. But the actual case has been a curse to all black people and all white people because we've all lost our double jeopardy over it. Because Tony Blair politicised the CPS. and forced the CPS to agree to charging those guys when they never had enough evidence. It wouldn't matter today. It wouldn't matter today because all the judges are fucking crooked. They didn't have a system sewn up back in them days. So the judges threw the case out because there was no evidence against them. And what it means is that second court case, because this is a freedom, Jesus will tell you the exact dates. I think it's like something like 400 BC, an Athenian said a man should not be tried twice for murder. That's right, isn't it, Jesus? And about 120 AD, a Roman said a man should not be tried twice for murder. I didn't have to ask Jesus this, I knew it, I just couldn't remember the exact dates. And it's in English Anglo-Saxon common law, and it's in the Magna Carta. And we now call it double jeopardy. It's probably there in the Bill of Rights in 1688, and the Americans have got double jeopardy. We've lost it because of the Stephen Lawrence case. That's not Stephen Lawrence's fault. He gave his life up. But his mum's not a very nice person. She pushed it. She wanted justice for her son, but that's not the point. You don't destroy. She comes from Jamaicans that were enslaved, right? That's why they ended up in the West Indies. I don't know if she's a Jamaican or whatever, from Bermuda or one of them other islands. I don't know. The fact of the matter is those people got there because they were slaves. Whether either the British took them or the French and the Spanish took them, who knows, their ancestors. But they got there, right? And they should understand about freedom. I mean, when they came here, they thought they was coming to the mother country. But they've, I believe that Stephen Lawrence's mum is a Marxist and his dad's a Marxist. They don't care about our freedoms. And, they become the enemy of the people. She's sitting there in the House of Lords now, and she's Stephen Lawrence's mum, as if she's done something good. She took our freedoms away. Horrible. Horrible. But, we can't be knocking statues down. We don't do that sort of thing. But we just need to get our freedoms back through these sovereign citizens. And it's number 4 on the list to get double jeopardy back. And we need, because we can see now that when the people fear the government, that's tyranny. And we've got this authoritarian. Boris is supposed to be our Prime Minister, but we've got this Marx said well, and we're seeing now that we're under Marxist control. They've controlled our government through this medical martial law, which is fake, really. We all fell for it. I thought it actually floating through the air. I mean, fucking hell, that was something that people used to believe in back in the 1600s and 1700s when they built the West End. They built Mayfair up because the rich people didn't want to live in the city of London with all the savage poor people, the scum of the earth, as they used to call people like me, working class people. So they built another city called Mayfair in Westminster so that they could all move away, about 3 or 4 miles away from everyone in the city, because they believed that these diseases they was getting, which was like cholera, was transferred in the air. And we all believed it. We all believed it when they corrupted science, that this virus, this coronavirus, travelled through. It doesn't. It travels in your spittle when you talk, if you minutiae spittle, but so does the flu virus. It's no more dangerous if you've got vitamin D, vitamin C and zinc. It won't hurt you. I don't believe it hurts you. I don't believe there's strong strains and weak strains. It depends how much your immune system is up to it and how much zinc you have. So, we've got to get, because the government, the world government that's trying to take us over, even though it's accepting we're getting Brexit, it still wants to envelope us and control us like it's doing to Trump. We're fighting back. We're winning. We don't need a civil war, thank you very much. And on the 30th of June, on the 1st of July, there'll be no extension. And Boris has just got to concentrate on that. And that's why they wanted to get rid of Dominic Cummings. So I believe that Sir Mark Sedwell, who got all the paperwork when Boris was ill, right? And Dominic Cummings flew back from Durham, I think it was Durham where he was, and he recovered quicker than Boris did. And he flew down and he thwarted Mark Sedwell, who had all the paperwork ready to put a 2-year extension. He was taken over. But even though Boris said that Dominic Raab's in charge, this guy was in charge. He fucking controls everything. MI5, it's all there. Look, you can see what he controls. Even right down to bloody 77th Brigade. And they're just, all that is a load of bloody keyboard warriors controlling Twitter, Facebook and YouTube. And they've all got lieutenant colonels in there, and they can access private information. That's why they make them that rank, a lieutenant colonel. It can attack. It can. With a lieutenant, you have the rank to get to secret information. And these lieutenant colonels, I think the guy's called Macmillan. I forget his first name. Who's in charge of Twitter? So he obviously goes to the people in Twitter and says, "Quick, I need this guy deleted. He's put something up really dangerous. That it might be about hydroxychloroquine." So they have to take it down because they don't want the people to talk about it. And if you stop, because they control the media in this country, fucking hell, we haven't got a Fox News. That's one of the reasons why Boris has got to keep stum. At least Trump's got Fox News in America. Boris has got nothing. He's got nothing. The whole mainstream media will tear him to pieces. And 80% of those fucking idiots out there in this country are still watching the BBC and Channel 4. And they believe Trump's a fucking right-wing fucking lunatic when he's the most constitutional president you'll ever see. He loves the Constitution in America. He's given more black people and Hispanics jobs than any other president fucking for 100 years. Forever, since ever. But of course, mainstream media in this country are just rubbishing him, and they lie about him, just like James Slack did, the official spokesperson for the Prime Minister. But like some Orwellian, where they get to work and keep changing the newspaper cuttings, that newspaper article that I saw from the Mail online, and it was all online, there was loads of other newspapers that went with that story, disappeared. Once Kayleigh McEnany, the official press secretary for the White House, come out and said, no, the president, with total agreement with his doctor, Sean Patrick Connolly, he didn't self-medicate himself, hydroxychloroquine. The doctor agreed he could take it. And then a couple of hours later again, she produced a document where the official physician of the White House signed a document saying, I agree that President Trump can take hydroxychloroquine. Of course, the James Slack article disappeared at that point in some Orwellian manner, like he'd never said it, because that's what they do, they change history. But I know he said it, and I've written a letter to my MP with many other things in that letter. But, you know, she won't reply to me because they're just liars. And we've got a new MP that's replaced Dominic Grieve. It's probably no different from bloody Dominic Grieve. So that's it really, I've done it. Do not go on Saturday. I can't emphasise it anymore. And I believe common sense will come to Tommy Robinson. Maybe the veterans can go and get away with it, but if I was the veterans, all we need is a guarantee that the police will protect the statues. But answer yourself this question, look at it this way. Someone said to you 5 years ago, I'll give you Brexit, right? You can have Brexit. You can leave the European Union and all the institutions of the European Union, but you have to sacrifice a couple of statues, or maybe even a little bit more than a couple of statues. What would you say? I know what you'd say. You'd take it. And that's where we are at the moment. We're not going to create a civil war after a couple of inanimate objects. They're trying to trigger us. We love our statues. We love our history. But Brexit is more important at the moment. We can always put the statues back in the future if we really wanted to. That's really all I've got to say. Yeah, they will change things, Dawn, but we just have to suck it up at the moment. We have to take it on the chin because it will create a civil war. It could collapse the government, and who knows what could happen. And like America, if you go and listen to George Webb and have a look, we've been funding Pakistan and Afghanistan. That money could have been rerouted back to... Because look, those fucking men that this guy's bringing in, there's boatloads of them coming in. These people are not ordinary people they're bringing in on them boats. They're all hardened, military-aged men. And they're probably used to killing people. They're coming from the fighting grounds of the Middle East. They're probably deadly killers. And these people can be armed. We probably, like America, all the money that we've sent to Pakistan and Afghanistan has been rerouted back in weapons, and they've got secret hidden caches. Antifa are not no ordinary, they're like the IRA, they have independent cells, and they don't even know each other in the other cells. And they've got hidden caches of weapons, and they've got drones, like in America, and they've got biological weapons in them drones. We need to find out what's the fuck's going on in this country. We don't want a civil war at the moment. They've got, I believe, go and watch George Webb, all of you, go and watch and look at his videos over the last week or so, right? And you can look back at them, and he keeps mentioning Antifa. There's about 6 or 7 videos he's done. Watch them and learn, and you see what I'm talking about. And he mentions Portland Down all the time. Portland Down were responsible for the chemical attacks in Syria. It wasn't the Syrians. It wasn't Assad. It was us, the British. And I believe it was the British that poisoned them people in Salisbury, not the Russians, because we were setting them up. Well, let's hope the veterans don't have to, Jesus. Let's hope that the veterans get a guarantee that the police are going to protect the statues. Because if they don't, eventually we will have to go down there, but we'll make sure it's after the 30th of June, because we need to get that extension in. But we don't really need to go in there at the moment. We need to get to January. Look, if you actually listen to what's going on with the negotiations, they're going crazy, the Europeans. We're Boris and Dominic Cummings are doing the business. And that's why Piers Corbyn wants him dead. Piers Corbyn ain't a Brexiteer. He wants a 2-year fucking extension to it. I don't trust Piers Corbyn. First thing he said, he wanted to get rid of Dominic Cummings. Is any of you gone and watched the film that I told you to watch with Dominic Cummings? Brexit, the Uncivil War. It's on Channel 4. You can go and watch it on Catch Up. It's a great film. We wouldn't have got Brexit if it wasn't for Dominic Cummings. It wasn't all Nigel Farage. Dominic Cummings was in charge of the official vote Leave team, which was built around the Conservative Party, all the Eurosceptics. It was 2 Leave teams. There was Nigel's UKIP party, and there was Dominic Cummings' official Leave team, which was the Conservative Party. Nigel wanted to join up with them, and Dominic Cummings wouldn't have Nigel. So they had to both go their own ways, and it worked. We won. But it's a fantastic film. Go and watch the film. I'll tell you everyone. Then you'll realise who Dominic Cummings is and what he is. He's a great man. Look, I'm going to leave it now, right? And thanks for coming on, everyone, all right? Good night, and just sleep well, because we were all triggered over the weekend. We've got to calm down. I spoke to Andy yesterday, Brexit Andy. He's always down Westminster, and he was round the statues. No, I'll do. Look, we'll put that up. Statues. History matters more than you think. If they are taken down, it is hiding truth. Slavery was ugly, but we need to remember. Sling the traitors. I agree with that. I do. I love my history, and I wouldn't take any of the statues down. But we are in the middle of a coup d'etat. Sling the traitors. It's a coup going on, and the one world government is trying to trap us. That's more important at the moment. And look, what happens is, when they start destroying our monuments, think about it, they lose public support. The police will lose public support. We can see the police are not what they used to be. And we can see this Black Lives Matter. It's all rubbish, because the truth is, it's all lives matter. So, you know what? They just destroy themselves. Give them enough rope and they will hang themselves. And if it means we lose a few statues, we lose a few statues, but we can always put them back, Sling the traitor. What's more important at the moment, more than anything, this is my opinion, right, is not getting involved in a civil war and getting Brexit. That's what we've been on. This is a globalist takeover of our country through medical martial law, through George Floyd, they want to move it to military martial law and create a civil war. Because the one world government wants to do economically. Well, look, when Trump opened up all the shops and said they can all open up the shops, what happened? All of a sudden, this guy, George Floyd, got killed. And then they all come out and burnt all the shops down. They didn't care if it was black shops, owned by black people or owned by white people. It was an attack on the middle classes in America to destroy all these middle class independent people's businesses. They not only were out of business for over 2 months, they went and burnt their shops down. I don't know how many of you actually watched and saw the extent of what went on. About 45 cities, right, were looted and burned, and bricks were dropped off. They dropped crates of bricks off in the middle of town centres as if it was some construction company ordered them, but it wasn't. It was all done. It's all part of the funding. People say, oh, it's George Soros. Yeah, you just say it's George Soros. It simplifies it, all right? He always gets the blame for everything. But we know it's a bit deeper than that. We know it's the foreign aid that went out to Pakistan and Afghanistan, got rerouted back to America. That's who paid for the bricks to be dropped off at every town centre in America. Right? So it's all planned. It's all coordinated. That 45 cities went up together. And they all had bricks, big crates of bricks dropped off in the middle of the city centres, right? So this is what we'll be facing here, Sling the traitors. We won't just lose the statues, we'll lose a whole class of people in this country that will lose their businesses. And that economically destroys this country. The reason why Scotland is part of England is because Scotland set up they tried to create their own colony in Central America. And it bankrupted the whole country. England didn't do it to them, they done it themselves. They all got malaria because they never had hydroxychloroquine in them days. And the Spanish poisoned them all because they were all Protestants. The Spanish hated them. And it was a total and utter disaster. And the Bank of England offered to take responsibility for their debt if they signed up to join the British Union in 1707. And the Scots had no choice because of no social security in them days. They'd have all starved. The whole of the Scottish people would have starved. So they joined up and it became the most successful union the world's ever seen. And that's why we had England, Wales and Scotland and Ireland. And that's how it all started. And this is what the globalists are trying to do to us. See, we didn't do it to Scotland. Scotland done it to itself in a failed expeditionary force to create a colony in Central America. But we are having it done to us by the globalists. They're trying to destroy Britain economically. This is an attack on us. This is a coup d'etat. Medical martial law to military martial law to civil war, and economically bankrupt us. So we have to go back begging to be part of the one world government and the new world order because we are bankrupt, like Scotland was when they done their failed expedition to create a colony. So we're not going to do that, Sling the traitors. We'd rather lose a few statues at the moment that we can always put back. A statue is very important. It is part of our history, but at the end of the day, it's just an inanimate object. What's more important is the middle classes don't get all their businesses destroyed, because that creates work for the working classes. It creates income for the government. And we are under attack economically. We need to keep these businesses going, and we need to open up peacefully. We don't want to do this mistake. See, we're in a great position. We can see what happened to America, so we must avoid that. It's very important that we avoid that, and we keep in medical martial law. And as we open up, we leave medical martial law behind. And we open up, and we've got no martial law. Trump is still in military martial law. He's starting to take the soldiers down. But we know that the New York State and California are not opening up. And there's a great video on Fox News about the New York police, because you know they're trying to defund the police, don't you? Because they're saying defund the police. This is the anarchy of the left. They want to get rid of the police. And do you know they want to be your police force, don't you? Antifa. They're going to be your police force. And go and have a look at the video. It's great to see these great union guys speaking for the police force in New York. Because they're desperate. They're being controlled by de Blasio, the mayor of New York, and Andrew Infanticide Cuomo, who kills afterbirth babies, right? And and kills residential residents with coronavirus. The man's a mass murderer. Now he's going to get rid of the police force. How many people does this guy want to kill before we can get rid of him? I mean, the man's a lunatic. I'm going to go now anyway. Right, I've said my bit. Please don't go on Saturday, and I believe Tommy will see sense, and hopefully we get a guarantee from the police, and the veterans don't have to go either, because I don't want to see the veterans being attacked, because they won't be armed with machetes. And look, the veterans can look after themselves, but that's not the point. The police, we pay the fucking police to do this job. All right? So let's just hope everything's right. Good night, everyone. Yeah, there is. We have heard that they're all going to be answering questions, Dawn. What about the Duke of York? He's got to answer questions, isn't he? Hey, about his links to Jeffrey Epstein. It's all good stuff, isn't it? Hey, we're winning. We're winning. All right, we're under attack, but just keep your cool. All right, thank you.